Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to a post Money in the Bank edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Money in the Bank literally just ended moments ago. Got a lot of questions here regarding Money in the Bank, so let's get right down to it. First one today comes from Yes No 22. Hey Aaron, do you think Money in the Bank was the biggest letdown pay-per-view of the year? Daniel Bryan doesn't win, the Brad Maddox segment, Ryback roll-up win, and the IC title match instead of the tag team title match on the main show. A lot of people have obviously asked me about Money in the Bank, my overall thoughts on the show. I have to agree with you. I do think it was a bit of a letdown. My expectations were really high for the pay-per-view, but with that being said, I would still say it was a very good show, above average, but there were some issues. I definitely thought that the tag title match that was on the kickoff should have been on the main pay-per-view. That was a pay-per-view quality match, and it was better than several matches on the show. The Philadelphia crowd was awesome. They were great. No complaints about the crowd. They were really into most of the show. There were a few things they weren't into all that much, but you know, you can't blame them for that. And as far as the winners, Sandow winning the World Heavyweight title Money in the Bank was definitely a surprise. In fact, only 4% of people on NoDQ.com's poll voted for him to win. But the interesting thing is that the betting odds had Sandow as the favorite. And same thing with Randy Orton. He was the odds-on favorite for people that were actually putting money down and betting on the match outcome. So that's kind of interesting. And as far as Daniel Bryan not winning, you know, I had mixed thoughts. I mean, on one hand, I thought he might win, but then again, I mentioned in previous videos that WWE could go in a different direction if they feel it's too predictable, and you know, that's what they did. And I don't think it hurts Daniel Bryan not to win, although he had a ton of momentum in that match. I mean, he was on fire. The crowd was going crazy for him. When they weren't chanting RVD, they were doing the yes chants through the entire match, and you know, Daniel Bryan was destroying everybody, you know, flying around the ring, doing dives, like he was just cleaning house. And you know, in the World Heavyweight title match, the Money in the Bank, you know, Cody Rhodes was the star of that match. He was just on fire, and the crowd was really into him. But you know, that whole finish was you know, Sandow turning on him, and that's building up to a future match. And same thing with the main event. You know, Paul Heyman turned on CM Punk, and that's obviously building up to the SummerSlam match with Punk and Brock Lesnar. And we knew that there was going to be a split between Heyman and Punk. So that's what happened here. And, you know, I didn't really have any problem with that stuff, but, you know, I think that there was just too much outside interference, and, you know, the world title match was also building to the future, but, you know, once again, they have a DQ. AJ comes out, hits Del Rio with a chair, although, you know, she was all upset about it, but obviously this is going to lead to Ziggler and AJ breaking up. So, I mean, they were advancing storylines, but I feel it was just too much of the screwy finishes, and it would have been better if there were more clean finishes on this show, in my opinion. Next question here from Juice Victimus Ramu. I think I totally botched that. Hey Aaron, well, you botched my name, Aaron, Aaron. What did you think of CM Punk's loss over the Money in the Bank? I mentioned that already. Why did Heyman do that? Do you think Punk will win at SummerSlam? Well, obviously, you know, Paul Heyman's upset in the storyline that CM Punk dumped him as his manager, and he's going off on his own. And, you know, Paul Heyman didn't want to admit it to him face to face. So, of course, when Heyman gets a chance to screw CM Punk, he does. And obviously, on Raw in the coming weeks, we'll hear more of the storyline and see how it plays out leading up to SummerSlam. And as far as who will win, Punk and Lesnar, too early for me to make a prediction on that one. I'll have to check the betting odds and base my prediction off of that, I'm guessing. All right, this one comes from Brandon Arthur 18. What were your thoughts on the Ryback and Chris Jericho finish? Once again, like other finishes on the show, I wasn't crazy about it. I think that, you know, everyone was expecting Ryback to win anyway, so you should have had Ryback destroy Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is going to be gone for a while, doing shows with Fozzy. You know, maybe they'll do something on Raw where Ryback destroys Jericho, but, you know, the fact that he got a roll-up It was you would expect more from Ryback. You would expect him to dominate Chris Jericho. So it really didn't do much to build Ryback up again. And this was his first pay-per-view win in a year. It should have been more impactful. It should have been something more memorable than just a simple fluke roll-up, in my opinion. All right, and this one comes from JMS VLSTRS. Hey Aaron, although the quality of both Money in the Bank matches were superb, I thought they should have gone with different wrestlers winning the briefcases. I like Sandow, but Orton really needs a briefcase to win a title. A lot of people ask me about Orton. Like I said, I don't feel that Daniel Bryan really needed it. It would have been a cool moment for him to win, but Randy Orton is been in kind of like limbo as of late, not really at the top of the card, and this is his way to get back into the top of the mix again. So I didn't really have an issue with him winning, and I wasn't expecting RVD to win. With the Money in the Bank World Heavyweight title match, it's progressing the storylines. But I am surprised about Sandow winning because I just don't see that character, and I've talked about this before. I don't see that character being a main event caliber superstar. So that definitely surprised me, and if it was me, I would have called an audible and had Cody just win the match because the crowd was that into him. And I think if anybody's going to benefit from that match, it's going to be Cody Rhodes, because I really feel that he was the star of that match. All right, this one comes from AC Stewart 25. Hello, Aaron. Do you foresee Kurt Angle returning to WWE, and how would you book it? Please answer in video if possible. I have watched every video and never got a question of my own in. Many thanks, Adam. I think that there's always a possibility that Kurt Angle could return to WWE someday. I'm sure the door is open, but I think it would have to be on Kurt Angle's terms, and I don't see Kurt Angle coming back on a full-time schedule again. If WWE was to offer Kurt a deal similar to what Chris Jericho has or similar to what RVD has, I could see Angle possibly coming back at some point. Now, how I would book it, I would do something for WrestleMania. I would build up Kurt Angle similar to how WWE built up RVD's return, have a bunch of promos hyping up his return. I would go Kurt Angle versus Undertaker, have Angle go for the streak. Kurt Angle's beaten Undertaker in the past. They could show footage of that, and they could build that up and build up the fact that Kurt Angle has made so many legends tap out, and he could possibly tap out Undertaker. So I would definitely do that if Angle came back and Undertaker was still wrestling. But regardless of who Angle would face at WrestleMania, I would spend several weeks showing video promos, hyping up his return, maybe have him come back at the Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant, something like that. Or similar to what WWE did with RVD, have him come back as a participant in like Elimination Chamber or a TLC match or a Money in the Bank match. All right, this one comes from Jeremiah Dorset. Hey Aaron, do you think the NWO members of Hogan, Hall, and Nash and Ric Flair should have been a part of the Invasion angle during its start back in July of 2001? Please answer in video for episode 326. Absolutely. That was one of the big mistakes, and there were a lot of mistakes that WWE made during the Invasion storyline, and one of those mistakes was not bringing in the top WCW superstars. When WCW folded, a lot of fans thought they would finally get to see their big dream matches. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg, Undertaker versus Sting, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, and yes, we finally got to see Hogan versus The Rock, but there were so many match combinations that people wanted to see, and instead we got DDP and Kanyon against Undertaker and Kane. That was the best that WWE gave us, and The Rock versus Booker T, which, granted that's a pretty big match, but certainly I think a disappointment for many fans, and I think it would have been in WWE's best interest financially to shell out the big money and buy out those contracts. I mean, a lot of those guys like Goldberg were, they still had the Time Warner contract, and they were being paid a lot of money to basically sit at home. I think WWE, instead of waiting for those contracts to run out, should have bought them out and brought in those guys, and WWE could have had several big pay-per-views. I mean, the Invasion pay-per-view, I think it did the biggest pay-per-view buy rate of any WWE show besides WrestleMania. WWE could have gotten several big pay-per-view buy rates, once a month you could have had a big dream match, Hogan versus Rock one month, Austin versus Goldberg another month, and you could have had month after month of big pay-per-view buy rates. So I think WWE absolutely missed out on that, and they should have brought in those big names. Hey Aaron, all the best from Serbia. I'm just wondering, what do you think about the Rock and Hurricane feud from 2003? I think the segments were hilarious, and I was happy when Hurricane won on Raw. Please answer in video. Well, I think in the long run, it didn't really do anything for Hurricane's career. I think it was designed to help give Hurricane the rub and make him a bigger star. But the fact is, it felt like he won by a fluke, and maybe it would have worked better if Hurricane actually got a clean win over The Rock, but it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, the segments were very funny. Rock calling him the Hamburglar and saying, "What are you going to do? Throw a bunch of cheeseburgers at The Rock?" I mean, that was great stuff. I mean, The Rock was at his top of his game, and Hurricane was funny. I got Hurra powers, bitch. Very funny segments and memorable moments from those two. So I mean, at least it did get Hurricane in the spotlight, even if it was for a brief period of time. All right, last one today comes from 2Sexy316. Hey Aaron, do you think that Magnus is getting over-pushed? TNA wants to make him a top star, but he has not been receiving good reactions from the crowd. Well, I think you have to try something. You have to try to push new talent, and that's really the key to TNA having any kind of long-term success past what they've been doing in recent years. I mean, if they're ever going to reach that next level, they need to build new stars. I've talked about it time and time again. So they really need to try to elevate some new people. And, Magnus has a good look. He's a big guy. He definitely has some potential. And, putting him in the main event Mafia, while it doesn't really make sense, when you're supposed to look at the Mafia as all former world champions, but, the roles change. And I think it's a positive to have him in the group, and he's going to rub off of the guys. Hopefully, he continues to be a focal point of the group and not just a guy who's in the background and, somebody who's overshadowed by Sting and Kurt Angle. So if they put him into the forefront of the storylines, I think that they're doing the right thing by pushing him as a main event Mafia member. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A Video, the post Money in the Bank show. You can check out the full results at NoDQ.com of Money in the Bank. Let me know what you thought about the pay-per-view. Leave a comment on the YouTube page, and keep subscribing, keep spreading the word on Facebook and Twitter. And I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A Video. Thanks for watching.